Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, MILE.
Thank you very much, Ollie, and welcome to everybody that is joining from wherever you are. Very much looking forward to spend the time with you and share my thoughts on leadership, and I trust that you will find it stimulating and useful. It's really quite exciting to connect with you, and I hope the connection is successful. So, if I can proceed then, leadership is without question a broad and intricate subject and area for development. And it's also a field of study which I think might leave people with the impression sometimes that you need to be educated to understand leadership. Sometimes people might feel even highly educated. Let me just close this. Not sure what that was. And however, from the perspective of a follower, I think it is quite simple, and I do believe that we find the essence of leadership and the most important truths about leadership in simplicity, and the simple way perhaps that followers would look at what they want to see and what they expect from leaders before they give them their full support. So this is really what we will be exploring, and I'd like to discuss with you. So I think the first question that a follower would like the leader to answer would be, what will you model to me before I can give you my full support as my leader? I think it is what we see in the person of a leader. Let me just check this. I'm going to try that. Hope it's settled, that one. What will you model to me? I think it is what we see in the person of a leader that would make us willing to trust him and to follow him or her. So really, I think it is the quality of the leader's character and his example of personal mastery that ultimately establishes the relationship of true leader and willing follower. So that, to my mind, is the first question. The second one is, what is the destination? We know that we are motivated mainly by a mental picture of a desired future, and in other words, a vision. So does the leader have a vision and a sense of direction towards that vision is what I would want my leader to be able to communicate and demonstrate. As a follower, I want to be convinced that of my leader's purposefulness and his competence also in the area that we will, or the territory that we will moving in and through as we join in a journey towards that desired destination. So it's really also the ability of the leader to adapt personally, but also to lead change. That is all part of this answer that we expect from our leaders. And then the third question, how will you engage me? You might be a wonderful person with a great character, with drive and strategic ability. However, if you don't know how, or you don't want to make me actively part of the journey, you still won't have my full support. And I think it's true that we only experience full meaning if we are truly involved also as a whole person, meaning that it's not only my hand, my actions, things, the work I do, but and also not even just my hands and my thinking, but really also my heart and soul. It is the whole person that wants to be involved to experience true meaning as we pursue a particular vision. As a follower, I want to feel that the leader value me, and as a skill and will engage me meaningful, in a meaningful way. So I think also with this we expect to be inspired by the leader and to experience even a degree of charisma. And if I say that, I don't mean charisma in the sense of a stage charisma. I mean it in the sense that the leader has the intent to connect with me and also brings his energy and liveliness to the work environment and to our particular relationship. So those, I think, are the important questions, and I want to go into them a little bit further as we move to the next slide here. So if we think about character, let's talk a little bit about it, because what really is character? One simple answer that I came across is to say that if your reputation is all to do with what others think of you, character is really who you are when nobody is watching. So that is one way of describing it, and I think also a very good way of putting it. But I do think that character shines through for others also to notice and to recognize in a person. And I want to give you a number of examples that I believe where it happens. I think when the leader is willing to admit to mistakes and ask forgiveness, that would be one clear example of character. We all have poor judgment at times, but then to admit to mistakes and ask for forgiveness, that I think is a sign of character. And then also we all experience serious setbacks in life. When we feel that we've been hit hard and it's tough to get up and face the world again, face our challenges. But then if we see in a person the ability, the strength, the inner strength to get up and face what is in front of him or her, I think that is a sign of character. Maybe something else as well is where we all are confronted with social pressures and various temptations in life. It is character that comes through when a person walks away from it, and even if it's at the loss of popularity, and just stay true to his moral values, that would be a sign of character. We all enjoy recognition, and our time in the spotlight is another one. And so if we have succeeded and received praise, it is good for our ego and we enjoy that. But in that situation, to remain humble and to keep our focus on the bigger picture, in other words, how others also supported us to achieve that success through years. We needed a lot of support from others and contributions to our lives. To acknowledge that, I think, is also a sign of character. Also, I think then if in turn we would be willing to praise others when they achieve success, even if it's perhaps a competitor, somebody that we might have been in some contest with, but to truly from the heart also acknowledge and praise somebody else. That, I think, is also a sign of character. Last one I want to share is that yes, we get up, all get up in the mornings, and we basically have our own concerns and dreams, and that would be upfront in our minds. But if we truly have the kind of empathy with fellow human beings that we are prepared to sometimes stop and give our attention, willing to listen, share with others and help and support them, uplift them in spite of our own interests, I think that is also obviously signs of character. So just some thoughts on character. And then a big test for character I agree with Abraham Lincoln when he said nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. And we know this is very true in life, that it's that sense of power that sometimes can erode elements of character. So it's character, I think, what we want to see in the leader, what the leader needs to model, those aspects that I referred to and some more. Also integrity, which is really closely, I think, linked to character. Courage, yes, also character aspect. And personal mastery, that's the sense also of, or the importance of self-awareness and the ability to stay in control of your own emotions, but also much more than that, your focus, your discipline. Those are the things I think we want to see modeled by leaders. So the three questions, I think, represent three areas of leadership as well as leadership development. And maybe it's quite common, but to me it's all to do with leading self, leading change, and leading others. And those three areas are interlinked, so that the way we are able to lead ourselves, all the aspects that we mentioned, obviously interlink with our ability to lead change and to lead others. If we think of leadership, as I've heard at some point in time, somebody said, don't know where it came from, but as being basically the three C's, three words that summarize leadership, or the essence of it in a way, then I think it also fits in well in this model that you see here. Because leading self really is the character that is important, and the growth and building of character. Leading change has a lot to do with competence, that ability to be strategic and understand what is needed to move forward in a particular role of responsibility, and understand what is needed to grow the organization. Matter of competence. And leading others, as I mentioned, an aspect of charisma, but again, we need to understand the word in the right way, because here I don't mean necessarily the communication ability, the ability to capture an audience, so much as it is that intent and people will build relationships with other people. Now, if we look at this and we think about how do you develop this to be able to answer adequately to the questions of followers, then I believe that you need to truly embrace leadership principles. I think for me it is important that certain actions and certain behaviors, the first step in growing as a leader is to fully appreciate and embrace the various principles that that will help us to lead self well, and to lead change well, and to lead others well. So sometimes it does require us to really reflect well on various principles. In my online program, 32 Leadership Principles to Unlock Potential, these are some of the leadership principles that I believe you need to embrace. And I would just like to give you some examples of them. If we say authenticity is important in leadership, why do we say it? Because I think a leader cannot help others unless he shares himself openly, and honestly. If passion is important, why is it? The leader does not only have to have a strong sense of responsibility, but passion for the cause. Effective leadership is more a consequence of the leader's ability to adapt well to changes than a consequence of his knowledge or experience. Visionary thinking, the mental picture of a desired destination, big or small, sparks focused activities and worthwhile endeavors, which is why leaders' first task is to imagine the ideal future. And so we can go on. I'm not going to read all of these. Trend and system awareness, cultural awareness, to understand why those things are important and why we can see it as a principle before even learning to act in a different way and approach things in a different way, I think is important in how we grow our leadership. Building trust, to trust the team, the leader lays a strong team foundation for the good, but especially for the bad times. Also recognition and inspiring hope attitudes of the people. It is the leader's uppermost responsibility to inspire hope and create a positive climate. Now, I think, again, to be able to grow to the level where we can adequately answer to the three key questions that followers put to their leaders and live those answers, I think there is a need to shift our thinking in many ways, because the status of leadership, going back to the three areas, I think what we've seen is a lot of focus in recent decades on the ability, the competence of the leader to be strategic, to understand what is needed to lead change in an organization. A lot of focus on those abilities, and with that a lot of focus on the knowledge aspect, the intellectual aspect in the leader. Less so, I think, on the other two areas of leading self and leading others. Strategy, as important as it is, in the words of Kaufman and Sorensen in their book Culture Eats Strategy for Lunch, strategy is still only the promise, whereas culture needs to deliver it. And the less we engage with culture and just hope that things will work out well once we move away from our strategy sessions and documented them and know now at least at intellectual level where we want to go, then we might find time and time again that with all the expectations we had from our strategy, not much really changed, not much of what we hoped would follow did in fact came to being. I often hear that, when we go into an organization that you'll hear at perhaps middle management level or senior management level, people complaining about, in the words where they say, they've changed the strategy again. And when I hear that, I sense that they are actually, with the expression on their faces, saying three things. And the one is that I'm experiencing this as yet another disruption to what I enjoy doing and hope to do in my work life. The second experience is that of it's being, the strategy is from the top, it's imposed on us. And as we know, people support only what they create. It's only when we feel that we have given our own support to it and creative thinking to it that we fully commit and fully support. And then also from that saying, I can hear people feeling that it's more or less senseless, particularly if they have been in the organization for a long time, 10 or more years or so, and they reflect back, they would tell you, you know what, this new strategy, in fact, is something we had 5 or 6 years ago. It's the same things. We've gone the full circle. And that actually becomes demotivating, simply because we overvalue our plans and undervalue our engagement with people. So I think that is the key shift that needs to take place. And that's not to say strategy is not important. Of course it is. But to balance it better with our engagement at the cultural level, how we grow, and give ourselves also to the building of relationships and the environment for others to excel in. I think that is key. So it's really shift also from head and hand to heart and soul, from focusing on the what and how to why and what for, from changing processes and tools to perhaps more a change of heart and attitude. So if we review what the expectations of leaders were, over time, then there's also something to understand in terms of the story, how it unfolds, and how we need to adapt to a new environment. Because obviously if we lived in the ancient times, we probably would be looking for a tall and a brave leader, a courageous leader who would take the battle to the opponent, because it's all to do with territorial dominance. And then later on also we revered leaders because what we believed would have been their spiritual sanction, bishops and kings. And that would be what distinguished leaders at that time. In the scientific revolution, we would probably be looking for the brightest scientific minds and see them as leaders for the future. And then as the world became more ordered and specialized and hierarchically structured, in governments, institutions, businesses, and many other types of organizations, then we saw that the technical ability or functional ability and also political astuteness became key features in how people were able to rise to the top and then be recognized as leaders. Unfortunately, what really fits those requirements and view of leadership more often than not became a command and control style with a very much power conscious environment. And of course the outcome of that is fear cultures where people can't speak their minds freely and the truth is seldom faced, and the result being that people either leave or try and find a more enjoyable place, and or else they just disengage. And this again I think is where we still need to go quite a long way in how we understand leadership and also our requirements or criteria for development. It's my belief that we today, when looking for leaders, we focus very much on these set of requirements. We look at the knowledge base of a person. Does he or she have enough a depth of knowledge? And so obviously the profile, the CV is important, and important criteria. Next is then experience. Do you have experience, and what is your experience? And especially it's to do with all the how to do things, that functional ability. And then as a third requirement, probably looking for some strategic and tactical skills in a position of power. Question would be, does this person deliver and secure quick results by using also the power of his position? Now, come to think of it, if you look at those three areas, then certainly one must say that you can almost be forgiven if you can tick those boxes to feel that you're quite superior to the rest. Those are all good for the ego. And the result being, I think, that many would look at leadership in that way of thinking as leadership as a challenge that it is for them how to be able to stand up and convince others in the budget rooms, the planning rooms, the strategy sessions. So it becomes really a battle of wits and egos, and unfortunately those things are not really going well for true teamwork and cooperation, because it's mainly me versus others. So it's a very competitive environment, whereas we would like to see our organization cooperate willingly and meaningfully, and support the leader from that base. Also, the development program for this also would probably be looking for how can I build the knowledge further, and can I get a qualification, and all that. Those things became important as a package for people thinking about leadership from that perspective. Well, if we understand leadership excellence as a matter of individual performance, that's one thing. But if we think of leadership as the ability to work with and through others, that's a different matter. And this is where I believe the following are important, and that's awareness. It seems so simple, and yet it's so hard to find, and it really requires a lot of focus and growth to build awareness. As a starting point, it requires obviously openness, vulnerability, and humility to grow in self-awareness. And as we know, with the chips on our shoulders of knowledge, experience, and positional power, we tend to filter out all the important feedback that might be damaging to our ego, and that would have helped us to be more self-aware. Self-aware is then also the foundation for being aware of others, and for regulating ourselves, and also being effective in our relationships and social connections with others. And then the second one is inner work and reflection. That's reflection and self-challenge. It's one thing to be aware of things, but another to really put that as those feedback as a challenge to yourselves. As we know that from reading the biographies or stories that exemplary readers can tell us, the make or break in their growth as leaders were the challenges they put to themselves in response to the challenges they experienced from outside. So we have to see how people also commit themselves to do the inner work, the inner path. And the last one is what I call context-sensitive leadership responses, the use of inner wisdom. We know that in leadership it is key to respond appropriately and wisely to various challenges. And that's why textbook knowledge is not really helpful, because it all depends on the situation and how you apply it, the wisdom for every situation in an effective way, and through that show your leadership. Leadership in its proper sense would always be authentic, spontaneous, and from within. So it is only once we've internalized things and grow our wisdom that we become stronger as leaders. In this old criteria development focus, you will typically find a lot of advocacy, whereas here the focus is on questioning and shared learning. This might be good for a transactional type environment, whereas this is what is needed for a truly transformational environment. So again, why is the shift needed, would one say? If we look at changes in our society, I find the work of Rolf Jensen and Mikael Altone, I'm not sure of the pronunciation there, but the Renaissance Society is a fantastic book. It's a recent publication to also illustrate and highlight the shifts in our society and how leaders need to respond to those. I think mainly it's the shift from, say, a rational answer to everything to more what is it that we feel give meaning to our lives, and even from materialism to spirituality. And this is some of the quotes that I thought I would like to share with you, because he says, you know, from materialism and economic measurements to meaning and measuring of well-being, he actually speculate that in future nations would no longer use GPI figures as an indication of success, but happiness indicators. And imagine the current race to dominate the world economy being transformed into a race for well-being. Perhaps in 15 years we will have just as many experts studying emotional well-being as we have economists today. People are both body and spirit. The spiritual aspect of humanity is coming back to us. And this one as well, all business people should ask what kind of emotional appeal, what kind of meaning, or which story are we selling? What dreams are we fulfilling? The same applies to services. Anyone seeking success in the market of the future will have to be a storyteller. I think is very accurate in how he surmised the situation. The narrative approach in leadership, I think, brings forward a completely new dimension that currently is still suppressed in the workplace. It opens the door to our humanity as well as ability to truly transform, as we realize that we actually are authors of our stories and can rewrite it. So it's to move away from labeling and argumenting and really to share in the story and support how we can rewrite our different stories also as an organization. Because human beings make meaning of their lives through the stories they tell. So if we think about it, you know, as industrialists, as specialists, economists, of course we know how to build tall buildings today, and that we need deep foundations, dig deep foundations to be able to build those buildings to serve the material world. Well, in the same vein, I believe it is important now to understand and embrace the challenge to also build tall buildings of a different nature. Buildings that would be of a spiritual nature, that motivate heart and soul. And also for that we need deeper foundations, as we see is needed for a tree to grow taller. Obviously the roots also needs to go deeper. And I think we should apply this metaphor also to leadership, as somebody like Otto Scharmer also indicates. The blind spot in current leaders' thought is that they know all about what leaders do and how they do it, but not know about the source level, that is the inner place or the state of awareness from which leaders and social systems operate. Leadership then, I think, is built on personal growth, or else it is nothing but position, ego building, and tactics. And if we say personal growth or character growth or spiritual development, this is what I can close with. I trust I still have a few minutes. But to look at the work of Otto Scharmer, I think this is so helpful, the theory U, where he just explains that it's all to do with our levels of awareness, and it's really a deep growth process that will help us to ultimately become stronger and more holistic leaders, from open mind to open heart to an open will, 3 different levels. Our default, as we know in life, is to download just patterns from the past, and it requires us to to actually suspend our voice of judgment, to see with fresh eyes. But that's just at the level of having an open mind, entertaining new ideas, new thoughts, new learning. That is important, yet it is not the full process of heightened awareness. The next one is to sense from the field or to feel it with the heart. So it's one thing to intellectually understand something as a new truth. It's a different thing to really embrace it and get a sense of it and feel it in your heart. So we need to overcome our voice of judgment, but also our voice of cynicism. And this is, we can understand this because we know that we tend to become more cynical in life. As we grow older in particular, a lot of expectations that were not fulfilled, people that disappoint us, life is not working out the way we hoped for, and we become cynical. So we try and protect our hearts and feelings, and as a result, unfortunately, that's where we don't allow also for the good things that we need to embrace fully to a higher level of awareness. And then the very last one, the most difficult, is to let go, because surely we know this, that particularly high performers, they truly value their sense of control, and that's also their biggest fear, that they might lose control. But this, unfortunately, plays a very big part in keeping us from growing spiritually. As much as leaders believe they need to learn everything there is to learn in their field, be it business or otherwise, there is a greater need for them to learn at the deeper levels of their being. So the next one here is the open will. That's to get to the point where we let go, and the voice in ourselves that we need to overcome is the voice of fear. And it's really only then that we can truly connect again with who we are, who is myself. If you take away all my mechanics, all the things that I used, my control models that I have, who am I really in essence, and what is the purpose? That is to connect with the source, and he calls it pre-sensing. From there you let go and crystallize vision and intention, prototype the new by linking head, heart and hand, and then operate from the whole. So it's just a model, of course, and the reality is very much a different story, where often it's only when we feel that we've come against the wall and we can no longer rely on all the things that we've built up, and we feel it's the end of the path, and it's really a sense of dying and letting go of what we were used to and how we know ourselves before we can start growing into a new person and operate from the whole as we see. This in itself, of course, is such a important understanding. It's not something we can manufacture or engineer in our lives, put in a program, because it's not really anything you can manipulate. But you can remain open and be willing to be part of this journey, and to accept what also comes to you when you're not necessarily in control of everything. So just to close then with, to answer the followers' 3 questions, as I've explained, I think we've, well, let me first just repeat, is your life an example of character, integrity, courage and personal mastery? Can you show me the destination and how to get there? And how am I to travel with you on this journey? Those would be the 3 questions. I think we've paid a lot of attention in terms of competence of the leader, focusing on strategy and many aspects in that area. The shift I think is needed is to understand and appreciate fully what it means to lead self, build character and model all those things. And from there to be able to also lead others well in the field of relationships. That way we can complete the circle and be stronger as leaders. I thought I would like to end this presentation with being a South African, with the next an example of Mandela, and share with you this idea. Surely, if we recognize leadership excellence in the person of Nelson Mandela, we should endeavor to look for and grow the qualities he lived and demonstrated. For organizations, I think it's not a call to become more touchy-feely, but to responsibly address the context within which business decisions are taken, and to ensure that these decisions accurately reflect the organization's heart, mind, and soul, be this in strategy, finance, marketing, technology, and corporate social values. With that, I close my presentation. Thank you.
Folks, that really brings us towards the end of towards the question and answer session. So if you have any questions, you could put it in the question box. I'll be happy to read them over on your behalf, or you could raise your hand. There's a hand icon available on your webinar console, so once you click on it, I'll give you an opportunity to speak to Dr. Garrett directly. So let me move to the question box. There are a few questions. Well, there's the first one, Dr. Garrett, a more philosophical one. Is leaders' main job to produce followers or leaders?
Yeah, thank you for that one. Yes, I've put it as the dynamic as between leaders and followers, but I fully agree that a leader needs to understand his role as one of developing other leaders or the leadership in others. But after all, I mean, to be a leader does imply, obviously, followers. So in that sense, I was using the idea of leadership and followers, but I appreciate the thinking that it's also the leadership that needs to be developed in everybody else that should be the focus of the leader.
Antonio, the question is, I believe this is a big shift, transformation from operational task management focus into people. How do you see in practice the companies dealing with this, considering the big pressure from market requiring a fast response from them?
And that is very definitely the challenge, no question about it. This is what we experience. However clear our aspirations is in terms of where we need to develop, the practicality is really not that easy. I think for me it is the rise of increased use of leadership coaching is good, a good response in the sense that it is flexible. It does not take people, really too much out of their work role or daily routines, and but also I think this is where we can use technology effectively, so that, and this has been my experience with using the online development program, that the people I have on the program would, in their own free time, engage with leadership thoughts, leadership material, and reflect on it. So I think that is just one way or one step towards it in answering that question. But ideally, you would like to see also increased conversations around leadership at the same time that we focus on the operational and the high demand to produce and get results. And I believe it is possible. Also, again, perhaps technology can play a huge part in that, where using a block. And again, that was my thinking in my development of the product, the online program, is that you have a block facility on each of the 32 principles, but that's where people can just very quickly, without really interrupting too much of the thinking processes in the work, can just leave a comment, thought about leadership, have a question, and get other people to join in and share thoughts. So I think the challenge there to close with is really to find ways not to have really to integrate and not fragment the process, to integrate it in what we do, but just make it more natural to reflect and raise issues of leadership as we go about it.
Thank you very much, Dr. We have another
Should I say over?
Yes. Yeah, another question. In this age of information overload, what would you advise leaders to adopt better and meaningful engagement techniques? How do one define what is meaningful engagement?
Lovely question. Lovely question. And difficult to answer to, really. But I do think the process that I've the youth theory that I've shared with you of Otto Scharmer, that should indicate to us that we understand information to be just information, and yes, we need to scan information, we need to distinguish and prioritize, discern what is important as we look at it. But here's my belief, and that is that as we are more connected, more at the three levels of open heart, open mind, open heart, and open will, I was connected with what is beyond what we see. After all, we are also spiritual beings, that we can't get away from that. However much we have focused on the material aspects, we are spiritual beings as well. And I think it's once we have learned to trust also, truly trust what we will learn and from within, that we will find the connections in terms of what information is just another load of information that will leave me anxious and overloaded, as opposed to the type of information that I can work with and go, effectively go forward. So I don't think it's so tangible and possible to answer that question really, other than that I've tried to do by saying this.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Gerhard. That really brings us towards the end of the webinar now. Any concluding remarks that you would like to give before we dismiss out?
No, from my side, just thank you for the opportunity, and thank you also for the questions. Obviously, ideally, we would like to have lengthy discussions around things and put it into context, but I do appreciate this opportunity and trust that everybody can take something from this for their own leadership. Thank you.
Very much once again. I would like to thank you on behalf of Dr. Gerhard for a very intriguing presentation, and thank you to all of those who participated in this webinar. We are recording this webinar, which will be uploaded on our community, which is community.mile.org. So please stay tuned to our community to access the recorded version and even download the soft copy of the presentation, which we have done even in the past. So thank you very much for joining this webinar. We are going to end this, so you all will be automatically dismissed.
Medina Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship, MILE.